This is, I believe, session 3, day 2 with my horse. She just walked up. I don't really have a plan for her today. Put the halter back on. I'll see if I can maybe do that without fishing her in. I think she maybe came up because she wants scratches again. I'd like to be able to touch her other side today and possibly putting the lead rope on, petting further back on her once the rope is on, all that good stuff. Hi. So I'm just going to take the halter and see what we've got from that. I'll let her sniff it again if she would like. When they avoid like that, wait. Good girl. There you go. Sometimes it just takes a second to catch their eye. She does not want to show you guys the angles for haltering at all. Now, if I had one really sensitive with this, or she wasn't as chill as she was yesterday when I put this halter on her, I would restart with the whip, wrapping it around her neck and putting it on the nose band. Okay, I'm going to see first without the rope being on if she lets me over to this side. Good, so that's the first time I've pet her right side at all. Good girl. She's kind of shaking her head a little bit at the flies or possibly wanting to challenge me. So I always try to put my arm in a position where I can block if I need to. If I have one that really isn't this docile, which is most of them, you're going to notice I always have a stick in my hand. But even now I've got my elbow up to block if she were to want to turn to bite me or anything. Good girl. Good. Let's go back over, get the rope. Now ideally when I introduce leading, I'm going to have a longer rope on than this. This is just kind of a standard, it might be a 12-foot lead rope or so. I like to have one that's not quite like lunge line length, but maybe like 15 to 20 foot. That way I can stick with them a little bit better. And when you're introducing a horse to leading, if they already have a little bit of a draw and hook onto you, that's great. You're always going to walk out of their way for them to come. I really like this right now because she's getting used to the rope hanging there without any pressure being put on it. So if she were to start moving and going the other way before I introduce pressure, I'm just going to let go of the rope. Sometimes when I put the halter rope on for the first time, if they're really reactive, I'm just going to put the rope on the ground right away and let them get used to moving with it on. Good, and when I do want to start leading them, which I still haven't put any pressure on this quite yet, I'm going to go side to side, not straight forward, okay? Because they can just lean and put their weight that way. If you're going straight and just pulling back, similar to a horse that would be setting back tying, if I go side to side, it puts them a little off balance. It's easier for them to move. Same thing when you're starting a green horse under saddle. If they're getting sticky and can't figure out which way to move, you're just going to go side to side with them. Is that rope good? Is that rope good? So I have a little bit of pressure on it right now, and I'm trying to put myself in a position where I'm good, kind of behind her. So if she does go forward, it's going to be towards the fence that way, not so the rope gets over her neck. Good. Good. Hi. What do you want to do? So curious horses, where I might have a problem introducing pressure, is if she gets distracted and starts wandering off, right? She gets a little bit bored of playing the following game and she decides she wants to go over to the other side of the pen by herself. Good. Good girl. Can you see with the tree there?
Not really.
I'll see if I can get her to go a different way. So there's a little resistance right there. She decided she didn't want to keep coming this way. Good. So the second the nose gives to me, even if the feet don't come, I'm trying to release. Good. There's a little pull and she gave with her head, so I'm going to release. She doesn't have to take a full step. Good girl. She just has to give with her head. Good girl. And you can keep it more on her, because I'm sure it's going to be more difficult to film both of us right now. You can see the give in the lead rope anytime the head turns my way. So when she is moving and kind of resisting the rope, I'm not going to sit on the rope and pull super hard. You need to step up from the camera. I'm going to try to position myself so I can get at an angle, good, to move her. Right now, when she's going forward, I'm going to move with her because I didn't put any pressure on the rope there. She moved forward off of it that time. And she's just being a baby, feeling nose pressure for the first time. That's what she's doing with her mouth. Good girl. There's softness in the nose. I know, I was starting to think that maybe you were already halter broke. There's some of the lean, so then I'll go leaning back and forth, and you can see how that changes her balance. The second she steps, I'm going to release. When she puts her head back to where it was, I'm not going to instantly pick up tension on that rope again. I'm going to move with her, right? Because at the start, you want to do one step at a time. So I have the nose, I want a foot step towards me, forward, right? I want it to be more directed towards me, but again, you take a little bit at the start. Forward, I'll give. Get the nose to soften. Good, forward. Nose, good girl. Now in this position, I want to get a little bit behind her at an angle if I've got a long enough lead rope to make it safe. So I'm not in kicking zone, but I don't want her going away from me, right? I want her to finish this turn around. So I need to give her plenty of space and room to make that turn around me. Otherwise, she's going to get the lead rope to the other side of her neck. Good girl. Good. And I'll release for that, and because she turned, I'm gonna move with her. I'm not gonna add pressure right away. If she's turning the other way, then the pressure will get added. Good. So sometimes that's why you do the loose rope. You got her on film?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm going to move her forward with it and let her get used to that loose rope. Good girl. This is also a good way, one, for desensitizing to the rope on the ground, but also for them to kind of learn pressure against their own strength. Good. Good, so they get used to the touching and the dragging, and right there she stepped on it with her foot. Try to give her space to go. You're okay. Good. Now if you do send them around the pen at all with the rope on, it is better to have a shorter one for this. Because you don't want them to get all caught up in their legs. Good girl. Good. Good. Right through the other whip. Good girl. One thing I do with a lot of them, she's not as reactive about it, but if that rope does get in a touchy spot, you're going to use your stick as a tool to get it back to you at a safe angle. Good. Good. Give her a release for that. Good. Good girl. And I'm going to choose to move with her that time. Now because she's given a couple times to the rope, that could be one of the chances where I pick up the pressure and have her stay. So if she does that again, instead of letting her leave and walk off with no tension in the rope, I might pick up some energy. Good girl. Good. So this time when she tries to go and leave and head towards that hay net, I'm going to pick up the rope again. And it's all about body positioning. So I'm trying to make sure I'm behind the drive line. That way she'll keep going forward and not change to the outside. Around the tree, I'm going to let go. That is the one downfall to having the shaded paddocks with the tree, is I'm not going to fight her over her strength with it. Right, I'm not going to get her caught up or try to have her in a position where she's like hard tied to anything. Good girl. Good girl. Good. Good. And that's the little baby brain I was talking about earlier, where she thought it was kind of a fun following game at the start, and then when she decided she was done with the game, she didn't realize that it stopped when she wanted it to stop. Good girl. Now with the ones that are a little bit more nervous about the person being near them still when you get the lead rope on, you're going to be backing up a lot and giving them space to come into the second they take that step. Good girl. Good. Good, and my release is there because that nose is turning with me. Good girl. Good. Good. So I don't really want to swing the rope back over her head quite yet because we've done some work with the stick. Good, if she gets it on her own, that's great. We've done some work with the stick doing that, but not too much. I'm gonna give her that path to go up over here. Good. Good. But I don't want to scare her by moving it all that much. Good. I know, scary rope. Hi. I know, you're doing so good. You're so scary. So then I'll do the same thing I was talking about with the stick earlier, since she's used to the stick reaching out to touch her side. I'll bring it back down over here and pull it around instead of tossing it over her head, because that would be another area that I need to work on, moving the rope all around her. And right now I just want to work on teaching her a little bit about pressure on the head. Good girl. Good girl. Good. Very nice. I guess I should talk about the food in here too, since you guys have probably seen it on the footage already. It's not straw that they have in their pen, it's oat hay that this one likes to tear up and destroy and make a little bed out of. So I promise I'm not feeding my horses straw. Oat hay is actually really good for their digestion. The coarser the hay, the better it is for the gut. Good girl. There, a little think about that one for a moment. And I try not to make a super big deal out of, you know, when they get all twisted and turned around with it, or, you know, if I have to let go because it's going around a tree, right? It's just part of that learning experience for them. And if I get stressed out about it, it's just going to add more stress to the horse and they're going to feel my energy. So I kind of just roll with whatever they're giving me. Good. So we're getting a little bit of the side to side movement, but I want to see if I can get her to step more off the rail. Good. That was the hind foot moving I'm going to release for. Good girl. I like that it seems that she's thinking more. Instead of wanting to get back to her hay, she's like, oh, we're actually doing something. Good. So I'm trying to give her that time to process. Good girl. Good. And I think I mentioned it before, but even when I am putting pressure on the head and pulling, I don't hold a steady pressure. There's still little gives and releases. Because if you put a steady pressure on, that gives them something to lean against. But if I have little pulses in it, good girl, there's a hind foot. It gives them something to move off of. It puts them a little bit more off balance. Good girl. Good. Good. And I do try to pay attention to the hind feet as well. As long as those move forward, I'm going to release. Now after I release, if they take a step back like she did in the prior step, I'm not going to immediately snatch up right away. That'd be something I would do in the second or third leading session. Okay, just like I increased after 10 times or so, I'd ask her to give her head and then let her go back to the hay without me immediately picking the pressure back up. Similar here, I'm just happy she's stepping forward and all she's doing sometimes is rocking back. I'm not going to nitpick her. Good. Good. Good girl. Good, I really like that she's thinking now. And I find with the Mustangs, their first 1 or 2 leading sessions, it's okay if they're super sticky like this, just them figuring out that pressure. Like, she doesn't need to make a full lap around the pen with me. I find when I put that lead rope on for the second or third time, they get way less sticky on their own if they can soak on what you've done with them. Good girl. Good. The other thing I'll sometimes do to help them learn how to lead is add pressure from behind. If I had a bigger area or even like a round pen to put her in, I might go into teaching her how to lunge first and go after the hindquarter yield. So I didn't release right then because the step was backwards from the pressure. Good. Even though there was movement, I still need it to be in the correct direction. Good girl. I know. It's work. Someone's telling you what to do. Good. 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 Good girl. Good. Good girl. Slowly working her way off the rail. So my goal is to maybe get her to take 3 more steps forward away from the rail, and then I might let her be done on that for right now. Her second session, we'll work on leading again. Good, a little more giving to pressure. Good girl. Now because she doesn't know pressure enough quite yet, I'll wait to do this until the 3rd or 4th session, but usually when I take the halter off, I'm going to keep it around their neck to try to get that nose to tip towards me some more, and then scratch them and then remove the halter, because I don't want them to get in the habit of every time that halter comes off the nose, they just can walk off. Good girl. All right, that is the end of her 3rd session.